Hello and welcome to Southbridge. So in this video, you will learn how to convert a JSON data into an XML format. So this is the demo, and I'm gonna paste a JSON data in this text area. So let me copy the JSON data. Okay, and let me paste it here. And then I will click the convert to XML button. So here in this text area, as you can see, we now have the XML format. So now let us click the download XML button. So as you can see, we can now download the converted XML into an XML file. So I will show you how to do this in JavaScript, but before that, please subscribe to my channel for more programming videos. So now in our code editor, let's type our HTML document, and let me put the title into JSON to XML converter. And then I will create a div tag. So I will put its class into container. And then let's create another two container. And then in the last div, so I will create a text area, and then another div, and we will now create a button. The first one is convert to XML, and then the next button is download XML. And then let us now create the second text area. So I will now put an ID in the first text area. So I will set the ID as JSON, and then the second text area, I will provide the ID as XML. And then the first button, let's set its ID into btn-2 XML. And then for the second button, let me type btn-dl-xml. So in the first container, div container, I will put our heading, so JSON to XML converter. And then for the second container, I will create a span element, and then JSON as its text, and then I will put an inline style, and let's set its margin right into 585 pixels. And next is we will create another span element, and let me type XML. So this is our HTML code, and as for now we don't have any style to it except for this span, the margin right that we have set. So I will just copy my created styles. Okay, and so now let's try to view this in our browser. So here is our JSON to XML converter. So as of now, we don't have events in these buttons. So now let's create the on-click event for our first button. So we'll create a script tag, and then let's reference our btn to XML button. So document that get element by ID, and then we'll copy the ID of our button, and then let's provide the on-click event and the function. So we will convert the JSON data to XML when we click this button. So in order to convert the JSON data into XML, I will use a JS library. It is called X2JS or XML to JSON. So we can use this library to convert JSON data to XML or XML to JSON data. So I will provide the GitHub link in the description box. So let us now use our downloaded XML to JSON.js. So let's create another script tag and let's provide the source XML to JSON.js. So next is we have to create a new instance of the object x2.js. So var x2.js is equal to new x2.js. So we can now use the x2.js that JSON to XML underscore str. So this method will expect JSON data. So we have to get our JSON data from the first text area that we have created, and let us parse it into JSON object. So let's use the JSON.parse method, and then inside that method we will get the JSON text area. So document that get element by ID, and then the ID is JSON, and let's get its value. So this code will convert our JSON data into XML string, and then we will store it into a variable. So I will provide the name of the variable new underscore XML. So let's try to display it into our console. So console.log new underscore XML. So let's paste our sample JSON, and then let's try to click the convert to XML button. So as you can see in the console, we can see the XML string. So now we have to put this string into the second text area that we have created. So let's reference the text area. So document that get element by ID, and then let's get the ID of the text area. So it is XML, and then let's set its inner HTML into our new underscore XML string. Okay, so let's try to view it again in our browser, and now we can click this convert to XML button. So here is our converted JSON data into XML string, but this XML string doesn't have indentation, so it is hard for us to read it. So I will now use another JavaScript library. It is called vkbeautify. So we have to download this library and use it in our project. Once you have downloaded the vkbeautify JS, we can now beautify our XML string. So let's create another variable. Let me call it pretty underscore XML, and then let's use the vkbeautify.xml method, and then we will provide the new XML string, and then let's set its indentation into 4 spaces. So let me reference our vkbeautify JS. So source is equal to vkbeautify.js. So let's try it in the browser. Then let's paste our JSON data, and let's click this convert to XML button. So as you can see, our XML string is now easy to read because it has indentation. We have now converted our JSON data into XML string. And now, in order to export this or download this into an XML file, we have to create the code for this button. So let's copy the button ID, and then let's use the document.getElement by ID, and then let's provide the ID of our button, and then the onClick event, and then the function. So first is we have to get our XML string. So var str XML is equal to document.getElement by ID, the value of our XML text area. So next is we have to convert it into URI. So let me create another variable, str underscore data, and then let's type the data type. So text slash XML, and then the character set. So char set is equal to UTF-8, and then we will concatenate the method encode URI component, and then let's provide the str XML string. So now we can create our anchor element to download the XML string into an XML file. So let's create the anchor element. So document.create element A, and then I will set the attribute. So set attribute. So the first one is the link, the href str data, and then another attribute, the download attribute, and then we will provide the name of our XML file. So I will just put JSON to XML dot XML, and then we will invoke the click event. So anchor dot click, and we will remove our anchor element. So let's try to check if it works. So let's paste our data, our JSON data. Then let's convert it to XML, and then we will try to click this download XML button. Here is our XML file. So that's how you can convert JSON data into XML string and download it into an XML file. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel for more programming videos. Thank you.